You don't belong here. The words hit before his shove did sharp. Deliberate, and loud enough to freeze the hallway. Ethan Cade Mallory stood there, broad-shouldered and sure of himself, flanked by 2 cadets in pressed uniforms. The cold fluorescent lights buzzed above them, painting every crease in their scowling faces. Riley Price didn't flinch. 31, civilian instructor, ex-Navy Special Operations combat medic. Her gray PT sweatshirt was damp from the evening run, her braid tight against her neck. She looked calm, too calm for someone being cornered on her second week at Northfield Military Preparatory School. Cade smirked. This is a prep school for soldiers, not civilians looking for a paycheck. His friends chuckled, the sound low and mean. Riley's voice, when it came, was quiet and steady. Step back. Cadet. He didn't. He pressed his palm against her shoulder and nudged her into the wall testing. Not striking. Make me... She didn't blink, didn't raise her voice. Years of training had carved stillness into her bones, nights treating men bleeding out in the dark. Missions under rotor wash and tracer rounds. Compared to that, 3 arrogant cadets in a hallway were just background noise. Her eyes stayed on Cade's until something inside him hesitated. A door opened at the far end. Captain Marcus Estrada stepped in, tactical officer. Late 30s, composed but dangerous in his silence. His boots echoed once, twice. Mallory, Hale, Vega, my office. Now. The 3 cadets snapped to attention, color draining from their faces. They left without a word. Estrada glanced at Riley. You all right? Instructor Price, I'm fine. Sir, file the incident report. I'll handle the rest. When the hallway emptied, Riley stayed still for a moment. The hum of the lights faded into a quiet that wasn't really quiet at all. It carried echoes. The whine of a Seahawk rotor. A medic's call sign crackling through comms. Sandstorm light flickering off a rifle stock. She blinked once, the memory gone as fast as it came. Outside. The wind off the Hudson rattled the windows. The flag at the quad snapped in the dark. Riley gathered her clipboard and started walking. Tomorrow at dawn, those same cadets would learn something they'd never forget, that calm didn't mean weakness. It meant control, and she had plenty left to teach. The cold came first. Not from the air, from memory, from that lake in upstate New York where the water never climbed past 55 degrees, and where Riley Price's father taught her what endurance really meant. She was 7 when he first told her. We don't fight the cold. We work with it. She remembered the way his voice carried over the ripples. Calm, even as her teeth chattered. Breathe steady. Your body will follow your mind. He was a Navy diver, a search and rescue man who pulled strangers from storms in the Pacific. He'd never once raised his voice, yet the ocean listened when he spoke. That memory lived under Riley's skin. It showed up years later, when she stood at the gates of Camp Meridian, the fictional twin of Pendleton, a wind-battered expanse where candidates learned what the Navy called medical warfare readiness. The instructors there didn't care about degrees or resumes. They cared about whether you could hold pressure on a wound while mortars landed 50 meters away. Riley graduated top 15%, not because she was the strongest, but because she was the calmest when everyone else broke. She went on to SOCM, the Special Operations Combat Medic course in Coronado. That was where the real breaking began. They made her treat chest trauma in rocking boats, perform triage in zero light, and run live-fire extractions with 60 pounds of gear in desert heat. The motto was simple: slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Fast keeps you alive. 8 years she spent in that rhythm Al Ramid, coastal deployments, desert operations alongside SEAL Team 5's logistics element, under rotor wash. She could pack a wound blindfolded, under fire. She could keep a man breathing while the night swallowed sound. When she finally stepped away from the Navy, she told herself it wasn't retirement, just a change of uniform. Northfield Prep offered a quiet field. Early mornings, young recruits, maybe she could teach them something before the world got to them first. But quiet never lasts. That same steadiness that made her lethal under fire now made her invisible among cadets who thought civilian meant soft. She didn't mind. They could underestimate her. Most people did right until they saw what cold water training really looked like. And come Saturday morning, they were about to. Because Riley Price wasn't done proving what control looked like under pressure. She was just waiting for the temperature to drop. 3 cadets, 1 hallway, and a silence so sharp it could have cut glass. The barracks corridor after evening PT smelled of sweat, detergent, and challenge. Riley Price walked with her clipboard tucked under one arm, hair still damp from the rain outside. She'd just finished another training session, another day of eye rolls, smirks, and quiet muttering. Discipline took time. Respect took longer. Halfway down the corridor, they stepped out Ethan Cade Mallory in front, Isaac Morris Hale and Diego Vega behind. Their boots scuffed the tile, forming a wall of arrogance. Cade's grin carried the same edge it had that first night. "You really think you can teach us how to fight?" Ma'am Riley stopped. "This isn't about fighting." "Then what is it?" he shot back. "Some kind of motivational class for civilians?" Morris crossed his arms. Vega smirked. It was supposed to intimidate her. Instead, it made her remember another hallway. Different world dust, thick as smoke, her ears ringing from the blast. A host nation soldier trying to push past her as she held a dying man still enough to breathe. That same tone in his voice, contempt mixed with fear. She came back to the present and took one small step closer. "Step aside. Cadet Mallory." Cade's jaw flexed. "Or what you'll report me, I don't need to." Her voice was level. But there was something in her eyes, a steadiness that made even the fluorescent lights feel colder. The air between them changed. Morris's smirk faltered first. Vega's foot shifted back. Cade didn't move. "You don't scare me." "Good," Riley said quietly. "Fear makes people freeze. You'll learn that the hard way." He frowned, confused that half-second too long. "Mallory." The bark of Captain Marcus Estrada snapped down the hallway like a whip. The cadets spun to attention. Estrada's gaze cut through the tension. "My office, all 3." As they passed, he glanced at Riley. "You okay fine, sir?" When the hallway emptied. Riley leaned against the cool cinder block wall, steadying her breath. The hum of the overhead lights blurred into a distant echo helicopter blades. Radio chatter, the voice of a SEAL calling. "Doc, get him out of here." She closed her eyes, the sound fading into the present. The same pulse, the same calm, different war. At dawn, the incident report would cross Estrada's desk. She knew the outcome, a reprimand, maybe restriction. It wouldn't change much. The real lesson was still ahead, because Northfield's first full combat fitness evaluation was coming in 3 days. Riley was already planning the route 12 miles, 40-pound ruck, water survival test, and the final obstacle course. And this time, when Cade Mallory stood at the start line, he'd see exactly who she was and why you should never mistake quiet for weak. The first rule of combat training: pressure doesn't build character, it reveals it. Saturday. 0600 hours. The field behind Northfield Prep shimmered in the cold dawn haze. Breath fog rolled low over rows of cadets tightening bootlaces and adjusting rucks. Riley Price stood at the front stopwatch clipped to her belt, 40-pound 18-kilo pack resting beside her. The air smelled of iron, sweat, and diesel, the kind of morning that separated pretenders from professionals. Captain Marcus Estrada briefed the course 12 miles 19.3 kilometers timed ruck, followed by water survival and the obstacle circuit. No breaks, no excuses. "From the second row," Cade Mallory whispered. "Guess we'll see how the yoga coach holds up?" Hale snorted. Vega just looked down. Silent. Riley said nothing. She swung the ruck over her shoulder and stepped to the line. Then came the sound, a low chop echoing off the valley walls. A Navy MH-60 Seahawk dropped through the mist, rotor wash kicking up dust and grit. The cadets turned as it settled near the range perimeter. Out stepped Chief Petty Officer Garrett, Naval Special Warfare. Broad frame, calm eyes, presence like gravity. He spotted Riley almost instantly and grinned. "Didn't expect to find one of my own out here. Neither did I." "Chief," she said. Estrada blinked. "You two know each other?" Garrett nodded. "Back at Al Ramid. I was her leading chief. She patched more of my men than most doctors I've met." A ripple went through the cadet ranks. Mallory's smirk vanished. "Let's begin," Riley said, voice even. The ruck march hit hard, 12 miles, 19 kilometers of gravel and mud, steady inclines, cold air slicing lungs. Riley moved like a metronome, precise, effortless. Mallory pushed ahead early, stubborn, by mile 10. His stride faltered. By 12, sweat poured into his collar. Riley passed him without a word, boots striking rhythm like a heartbeat. By the time they reached the pool, the sun had clawed above the bleachers, and every breath tasted like metal. Full uniform 50-meter swim, 5-minute tread, retrieve a 10 lb 4.5 kilo weight from depth. Vega failed the tread at 4 minutes. Hale barely cleared the mark. Mallory finished, coughing hard. Riley surfaced beside him, steady, silent, unshaken. Then came the obstacle course. Garrett waited at the finish line, stopwatch in hand. Mallory tore through, scraping, clawing, fighting the mud. 8 minutes, 12 seconds. He stood, chest heaving, proud until Riley ran. She moved like instinct, efficient, lethal, a rhythm honed in chaos, vaults smooth, rope climbs flawless. Her foot hit the final board, and she stopped the clock. Garrett glanced down. 6 minutes, 41. No one spoke, only the wind moved. Garrett raised his voice. "You just watched a former Navy Special Operations combat medic move like someone who's done this under fire. That's what real service looks like." Silence held not from disbelief, but from respect. Riley nodded once. Nothing more. As Garrett turned to leave, he called back. "Price, we could use instructors like you at Coronado. Think about it." Riley looked past him, toward the flag lifting in the rotor wash. 8 years since she'd last heard the word Coronado. The battlefield, it seemed, had just found her again. The field was quiet again. 2 days had passed since the evaluation, but the echo of Chief Garrett's words still hung in the halls like a banner no one dared touch. Riley Price walked across the training grounds at dusk, boots crunching over gravel, the horizon burning gold over Hudson County. Most cadets avoided her gaze now, not from fear, but from respect. The kind that comes when you finally understand what someone's endured. She found Cade Mallory waiting by the pull-up bars, hands in his pockets. His confidence had lost its edge, replaced by something quieter. "Ma'am," he started, clearing his throat. "I didn't know who you were." Riley gave a faint smile. "You weren't supposed to. I made assumptions." He admitted. "A lot of them. We all do," she said. The trick is learning before they cost you something that matters. Cade nodded. No excuses, no half apology, just acknowledgement, and that was enough. He turned to leave. Then paused. You going back to the Navy? She looked out toward the setting sun. Maybe not back, she said, but forward, in the same direction. That night, Captain Estrada stopped by her office. He held a folder with a single-page commendation, Chief Garrett's signature stamped at the bottom. Naval Special Warfare Preparatory Training wants you on their next instructor rotation. He said, Coronado. They're calling it a contract, but it sounds like a homecoming. Riley traced her thumb over the seal, the ink catching the lamplight. She didn't answer right away. Instead, her eyes drifted to the window to the parade field where floodlights shimmered across the flagpole. In the glass, she saw two reflections: the instructor she'd become and the medic she'd been. The difference between them was only uniform and time. Outside, the wind picked up, somewhere downrange. A whistle blew, followed by laughter, the sound of cadets still learning what discipline really meant. Riley smiled to herself. Faint but real. Her father's voice echoed. Steady as ever. The hardest job in any crisis is staying useful when everyone else panics. That was the truth she'd lived by through fire, through failure, through every quiet dawn where the world doubted her. She closed the folder, set it down, and whispered, Still useful. Lesson respect isn't given to the loudest voice in the room. It's earned by the one who stays steady when everything else breaks. The wind carried across the parade field, stirring the flag, and somewhere, unseen, another story was already waiting to begin. Some lessons start with silence. Comment where you're watching from and hit subscribe if you've ever had to earn respect the hard way.